Hello, everybody. Just got finished eating my breakfast, so now I'm going to be going on part 3 of Where Can a Gynarchy Come From? This will likely be the most controversial of all the videos, so I just wanted to give a bit of a warning for that, because it does contain personal content as it relates to my life, the things that happen to people in my family. Where can a gynarchy or gynocentric society or community, where can that come from? And I want to relate a bit of a personal experience. Like when I talk with a lot of different people, most of the time when I talk with gynarchists, it seems to come from a desire, like some kind of need for like to satisfy something. So in other words, there's a level of self-satisfaction involved where you want to see something because not necessarily because you need it. There are needs of relationships, there are needs that communities fill. But what I'm trying to say is it's because you love the idea or you think the idea is exciting or stimulating. And I find that there are many gynarchists who share this, who are coming from this place. And I want you to know that I am not one of those people, in that sense, at least not entirely. I come from a place of pain and suffering. And so when I was going around the community, when I was trying to connect with other gynarchists, what I often found was that when it wasn't a fetishist who was excited about the idea because it allowed them to ejaculate or whatever, or get them excited, once that was deflated and they got bored, they just moved on or find something else to do or find some other kind of supply, if they're a narcissist or something. But then it brought back up the question for me, because I have to ask myself, because I'm trying to connect and build a community to help women and girls, and I thought, well, so I tried these gynarchy groups, I tried to connect with people, and it led me to this question. Can a gynarchy or a gynocentric society or what have you, whatever you want to call it, a community, is it better to be built in pain than solely through self-discovery? In other words, what if the people who are going to be the most receptive to the concepts or the ideas related to that kind of community also happen to be the people undergoing a lot of suffering and pain, or people who are recovering from it? And the reason why I'm saying that is because there's some women who they're actively dealing with men's shit, they're constantly dealing with men's problems, but I find that for women within either the gynarchy community or the femdom community, there comes a point at which it's just normalized that you're going to have to deal with a certain level of shit. You have to sift through what you would call, you have to sift through all these different messages in order to find the people that you think are the most authentic. So they're already dealing with their own personal problem, but and I know this is it is controversial to say, but what if the only way to really do it is for it to come from, and this is based on a quote from Dragon Ball Z. So if you've never seen Dragon Ball Z, there was a scene of Goku, who is also known as Kakarot. Vegeta calls him Kakarot. I think I'm about to sneeze. He was training with his son Gohan in the hyperbolic time chamber. He was trying to help him become a Super Saiyan. And what he told his son is that it has to come from a need, not a desire, and that you have to create that need. Now, why does that matter within this why does that matter when it comes to creating a society? Sometimes I feel like the reasons are not compelling enough. I feel like the forces are not strong enough to really push someone in a certain direction. So I often wonder if actually that I am talking in general to the wrong people. Has anybody else ever had this doubt, by the way, this question in mind, like, what if I'm talking to the wrong people here? What if the people that I least expect would want this society are actually the ones who need it the most? So for me, this is about protection of community. So what if, and we don't need to create that need. The need already exists. You know, people who have been victims of men and their behavior and the shit that they've done, they have a need for safety so that they can recover, so that they can live their lives again. And so the question is, can these individuals be the one to build it? And I guess this is where I feel it's controversial, because philosophically, it's like it would be like you're on a construction project and you're going up to somebody who's injured and you're saying, well, look, we're down a man and we need some help. We know that you've got some kind of issue. We know that you were hospitalized, but we really need you to come build. We need you to help complete the building. And I really do worry if there is some kind of level of if there's some kind of moral. I think it's morally questionable to be seeking out individuals who are still in the process of recovering to build something. And part of the reason why is because they're already weary of predatory behavior. They've already dealt with individuals who came to them claiming to be their saviors or claiming to be able to solve their problems. And so is it really morally just to then kind of seek out, and this is what I'm going to be just direct here, women who are victims, who have been victims of rape or molestation, or men who have been victims of other men. In other words, men who have been raped by other men. Is it the victims themselves who are actually the more suitable candidates for this society? I would say that at least within the abstract, without getting too complicated, I do think it's possible that it could come from these individuals if there is a person who reaches out to them and organizes them and says, look, I've come from a place of pain too. But more specifically, it's the pain I saw other people go through. Now, in my personal life, I have seen, I had a family member of mine who molested my own sister. I know, or I've heard the stories about what happened to my mother in the bathroom of her own home. I have seen what the sexual abuse does to their mental health and well-being. I've seen the destruction that takes place, how these people's lives are destroyed. But I also know that not everybody handles tragedy in the same way. Not everybody is affected in the same way. And yet, despite that, I've often wondered if these individuals who, through various ways, have suffered mistreatment at the hands of men, if these individuals would be far more motivated to create a society where women and girls are running things. And the reason I feel this way, of course, is because if they have a motivation that makes sense, that is not purely academic, that does not involve self-satisfaction, but is a deep-seated need to reinforce or to establish the sense of safety and security that was taken away from them by those men. So there's actually a place on earth where this has already happened, but it happened because the women did it. In Africa, there is a society where women who are victims of sexual assault run away and find sisterhood in this place. It's an actual society where only women live there. And they get the fuck away from the men. And they find solidarity with each other. They find community with one another, and they need that sense of safety. So this isn't just based on, a hypothetical thought experiment. This has actually already happened in one form in Africa. This is something that's already a thing. So the question is, can we learn from how this society formed, or rather this women-only society formed, in order to build a Gynarchic community model? or to build a Gynarch community. In other words, I guess, again, I'm just going to come out and say the question, should Gynarchists be reaching out to women or to men who are victims of sexual assault, rape, battery, whatever, and ask them, look, if we had a community where, if, let's put it this way, you talk to them and say, listen, would you like to be part of a community where you have the power and control and you are given the resources and tools to not only protect yourselves from male aggression and from all the shitty behaviors that men are engaging in? Not only do you have the tools, but you have the backing of some of us. In other words, would it be better for, let's say, me or a few others to reach out to those individuals and say, here's what we can do, is that we have the thoughts, we have the ideas, we just want to know if you would be willing to support this. And I think this is I think, again, that this is, it's going to cut both ways. You're going to have some individuals who are naturally going to be suspicious of your motives and wonder, what exactly is it? Are you just using us to get what you want? I think that that's a valid way to feel when you've got one of these individuals coming along asking these questions. But on the other hand, if you are going to create a society, is it not nobler to create it in response to a need rather than a desire? Because the things I have that happened in my life, they're a matter of public record. The person who did what he did to my sister, he admitted it in a court of law. He pled guilty to it, and he served time in jail. So I have actual records backing up what I'm saying. So I think that, and if you're going to connect to a community, you should be able to back it up. Your at least your story that you're pitching to them up. You need to be able to let these people know that you do know people who have suffered. You have supported people who have suffered. So I think that when it comes to strong foundation versus weak foundation kinds of arguments, I think that this is actually one of the unexplored areas. And the reason why I think it's unexplored is because of how controversial it can be, how much of a hot topic it is. And yet, there's something in my gut, my instinct, that tells me that this is actually at least, again, if you remove morals from it, if you just look at the logic of it, logically, if you can get them on board and convince them to adhere to this community model, at least be part of that community, and you provide the necessary, not only the necessary support, but you show them that you're serious about it, then I do think something can grow from that, because it is not, because these people need to feel safe. They need to feel like, okay, they need to feel like somebody is having their back and is not just taking advantage of them. But this also, in another sense, creates it's kind of like you're putting again, the movement itself would be putting itself in very precarious grounds too, because if somebody who is saying they're one of us ends up being a rapist or does something fucked up, it just undermines the entire project then, because then we would be seen as wolves, because we couldn't even police our own. We couldn't even stop them from taking advantage of somebody. So whoever is organizing that kind of community, you have to have enough sensibility to be aware of these things. But I do believe, just as a matter of course, and because of what I've said in the video, I do believe it is possible because it's already happened. There's already been a gynocentric community in Africa that came about as the result of pain. So I do believe that the collective pain and suffering of men and women at the hands of other men could be used as a unifying force to create a gynocentric society or community. The only question is, how do you go about doing that? And what moral questions or dilemmas will you have to resolve along the way? And how will those individuals be able to contribute or fit into that society? Thank you for your time. I hope everyone has a great day. Please take care out there.